YouTube, you've been sim racing for a while, you've probably seen these paid subscription services normally that offer you setups from pro drivers and maybe tutorials along to go with it, because it's a hard job trying to go quick in these racing cars. Like, it's super hard. You need to know the track, every bump to get the most out of it, where the weight transfer is going to happen, and do you use the curbs, do you not, where do you brake, all this stuff. It takes forever to learn so they can speed the process up. Now, I have used them myself, and this particular one I'm going to use, I'll link up in the corner the breakdown of it, and that's why I use it, but I'm not linked with it in any case, but it's just one that I use that offers video tutorial and also the setups. And I'm going to answer the question today I've been wondering about. How much quicker is a paid service or a paid setup compared to the normal iRacing baseline ones? And if you've wondered the same thing and this video is going to benefit you a little bit, then I'd really appreciate if you hit the thumbs up button. I'm trying to get 20 likes per video, and I really appreciate the likes that you guys have been giving and the subscriptions. You know, every bit of help for when it comes to small channels is really appreciated. So today we're going to jump into the Porsche Cup car and learn the
Monza
Raceway track. That's where it is for this week. So we're going to jump in this track in the baseline setup, try and get the most pace we can out of the car, then apply the paid setup and really quickly get up to speed. Not like practice to see if I can smash it or get better, but let's see just instantly how much quicker really is it. Alright, so I've got a few different clips here going through 3 different setups. First one's minimum downforce. I thought I'd try out what I would expect to be one of the better choices of the kind of preset stuff for iRacing. And I've got a couple of clips here shortened just to see or show you different elements to each setup. So this one's minimum downforce. I'll show you what it looks like under braking first of all. You can see that it kind of sways around a little bit under brakes. It's not too bad, but it's definitely a difference to what you'd normally think when you see an RSR. They're normally super planted. And for a time, you can see we're doing the 146s. Now, I know that, you know, up there are the fastest times you can do. Again, here comes braking. It sways around a little bit, nice and light on the wheels. And Monza is so massive with its straight, so you don't want to have too much wing holding you down, because then it stuffs you up at these max speed corners. And with the minimum downforce here, one of the pinnacle points of the track, even though I never really look perfect, is this section. You can see with the minimum downforce, really struggled to keep the wheels from spinning there. So like I was gonna say before, 144.5 is a crazy quick time, and you can see we're about 2 seconds behind. That seems to be most of the time when it comes to pros and their setups. Thought I'd check out the baseline just to see what a real stock standard setup performs like on this track. Now this is normally not too bad for a lot of tracks. You can see straight away, again braking to this first corner, how much more stable this is. It actually kind of threw me off because you got to drive it a little bit differently. The car's a lot more dependable under the brakes. You can throw it in. This corner here, like look, it just wants to turn. Pretty much flatten the power, and it just sticks, which feels great for a lot of tracks, but on this one, it really doesn't. Show you how under braking into turn 1. Top speed is about 10 kilometers lower, I think. I can't remember exactly what we got last time. It comes out, sticks to the ground again, and I'll quickly show you the time here. 148. Like, I knew it was bad, but over a second off the minimum downforce setting is just trash, honestly. So, absolutely there's a difference between grabbing a baseline setup and for some cars, the ones that have multiple setups. So you do want to tinker with them because they are hugely different. So definitely, if you're running baseline setup, you're going to be well behind the pace. Now, I set the fuel exactly the same. This is the VRS, Virtual Racing School setup. They have a quali setup and the race. I just went the race one, dropped the fuel, because a quali setup might be set up even different to what you expect from, you know, if you're trying to compare it, I think it's the best way to do it. Loose under steering, but one thing, under braking, sorry, just like the minimum downforce was, but one thing I can see here, and I've showed you a little bit longer of a clip here, is how bouncy it is. It's crazy bouncy, and it actually caught me off guard a lot of the times. You can just see how responsive it is. So, just showing you there that I binned it. I binned it actually twice, even though I'd already done a race on this before, just because it's so different to the other builds. So not only do they, you know, try and go minimum downforce to make it still hold a bit more of that Porsche RSR personality of being responsive and kind of, you know, turns well and makes it go where you want it to go, is the fact that they've made it very stiff. And because of that, it is a little bit harder to drive. I think the minimum downforce baseline one for iRacing was a lot more stable, but this one feels cool when you get it right. That's kind of the only difference I could tell. Main speed, straight line pace and everything's the same. I think it's running very minimal wing and everything, but definitely a lot more bouncy, and because of that, a lot easier to catch yourself off guard if you don't know what you're doing with it. Show you the rest of the lap here to see kind of where we're at, and it's not, you know, fast lap times or anything, but they were consistent without the whole 3 of the board. See how it performs at different parts of the track. A little bit skatey here. You gotta watch out for this big curb because it will send you to Narnia. But decent enough to handle. Not incredibly difficult, but it is harder than the baseline stock setups that iRacing likes to supply you with. As you can see, it wants to stick a little bit better than the minimum downforce setting, but still kind of shares the same characteristics. A lot more pace in the baseline setup. Look down the corner and we chop off about 3 or 4 tenths on that scenario. Now, it's not always kind of like that, but definitely if you were to maximize the pace out of it, which I wasn't, but if you were really quick, you knew exactly how to handle the setup that they've given you to the best of its ability, you could probably get even faster. But for the generic person that's playing, you know, chopping off about 3 tenths or something like that can be big. Like I said, the lap times weren't crazy different. The minimum downforce setup, there is a low downforce setup as well. I didn't try, I thought it might be pretty similar. But comparing those two, do you need, kind of come to the final verdict, do you need to have one of these paid setups? And my answer is no, unless you're really trying to, you know, you've been playing the game for over a year or something, would be my guess. You're trying to really go quicker. Because you will bin it if you don't really know how to get around the track and manage the car effectively as it is. So the VRS setup that I was using, like I said, I binned it twice in those hot lap practices. I have done a full race on it and we went fine. But it's just the difference in the confidence of it. You really got to know what you're doing. If you want to get the most out of the car, you will be quicker, but it's only a couple of tenths, so it's not going to matter a whole lot in the lower divisions. Of course, 3 tenths does sound like a heap, but what I'm trying to get at more so than anything is a consistency factor has to be there. It's not going to be 3 tenths a lap faster every single lap unless you're a very consistent driver and you know how to handle the car. So that's what I'm getting at. Is it going to help you out? Yeah, but for $15 a month, if you're sitting there weighing it up and you've watched all this way through the video, trying to discover whether or not you should pay $15 a month like it's a big deal to you, well then, chances are it's probably not, you know, super worth it. The thing that does make it the most appealing, and we haven't touched on just yet, but it's more so watching the guides of the track. Because if you don't know exactly how to run the track, no matter what setup you do, you're not going to be as fast as someone that knows exactly what they're doing. So, is the $15 a month worth it for, or $10 for US, Australian conversion will get shafted. Is it worth it for the setup alone? Probably not. Craig's setup shot comes in a little bit there where it's only $5. But more so is the track guide. So if you guys are on a budget, I would highly recommend watching YouTube guides with someone else, a Twitch streamer, learn the track. You know, if they stream every night, you're going to be able to watch the track pretty easily, or watch it on YouTube, type in track guide. Whether it's iRacing or real life, generally it's the same kind of line, pretty similar. And then you can save your $15 if you're worried about it, and you'll be not that far off pace. But if 15 bucks isn't much for you, or $10 per month, well then definitely watching the track guide, having the setup to get the most pace, and then just trying to learn and practice and get better and better at getting the most out of it. It will save you about 2 tenths a lap or something like that. And over a long course of a race, can it build up? Definitely. Especially if you've got your pit stop and everything on point. You know how to start the car. You know how to avoid incidents. Do I think it's worth it? In my opinion, yes. But if you're on a tight budget, it's not going to make or break a race.
Shit sound. Wow, you guys are absolute clowns.